Hello and welcome to the Memory Card. The Nintendo Switch has had a fantastic 2017, and I was already sold on the console from its initial reveal trailer in October of last year, but this year has made me even more of a believer in this console. It's been filled with so many amazing first-party releases from Nintendo, alongside a lot of great indie games and even some notable third-party releases, and now I'm thrilled to tell you all about my top 15 favorite Switch games that were released this year. Number 15 was met with a bit of a mixed reception when it was released on other systems, but I can thankfully say that the Nintendo Switch version of Yooka-Laylee lives up to the excitement and hope that I had for the game. It's a great spiritual successor to Banjo Kazooie and features a soundtrack from Grant Kirkhope, David Wise, and Steve Burke, and they really bring this game to life alongside the wonderfully colorful and cartoony art style. This game is a nostalgia-fueled take on a genre that I love. Number 14 goes to Mr. Shifty. And this game sold itself immediately to me because, at its most basic level, it combines the frantic gameplay of Hotline Miami. If you were playing as Nightcrawler from the X-Men, which is coincidentally one of my favorite X-Men, the teleportation mechanic mixed with the brutal combat just makes for such a compelling experience. Sure, the game was frustrating at times because it is not easy, and I died a lot, but I had a blast with this game, and it was a great early release for the Nintendo Switch. Number 13 was a surprising game, but Golf Story really took the games media industry by storm when word started to get around about how good this game is. Golf as a sport bores me to no end, but there have been good golf games in the past, and this game mixes the arcadey golf mechanics a la Mario Golf with the charming and funny story and some RPG elements as well. It makes for a very unique and fun game that's definitely worth checking out on the eShop. Number 12 won me over quickly because of its very charming and colorful art style, and its very unique take on the 3D platforming genre. Snake Pass is essentially a collect-a-thon 3D platformer without any jumping because you play as a snake named Noodle. The developers kept saying before its release that you had to think like a snake when playing this game, and they weren't joking around. This is such a cool and fresh take on the genre, and plays unlike any game I've ever played before. And throw in a soundtrack from the incomparable David Wise, who did the music for Donkey Kong Country, and you've got a winning combination already. Taking the number 11 spot is one of the first indie games released on the Nintendo Switch. Spectre Knight continues the amazing Shovel Knight series, and is arguably just as good as the original game itself, with its unique gameplay twists that help make this feel distinct from the original release. Even though I'm not very good at any of the Shovel Knight games, that doesn't keep me from loving these wonderfully crafted games. And all of the entries in the Shovel Knight series are modern-day 2D classics, and in a lot of ways are even better than a lot of the games of the era that they are reminiscent of. Spectre Knight is not a game to miss. Yacht Club games just seem to not be able to do anything wrong at this point. Number 10 is a game that took the video game industry by storm when it came out back in 2015, and it is no less impressive with its Nintendo Switch release. It's none other than Rocket League. This game is fun in a way that few games can ever claim. Whether you play online, local multiplayer, or against bots, Rocket League is pure arcadey sports fun, which is unfortunately a rare treat nowadays. Being able to take this fantastic game on the go just makes it even better. Number 9 on the list evokes the old Harvest Moon games, but even surpasses those old entries in the franchise. Stardew Valley is a relaxing, addictive treat that has found a perfect home on the Nintendo Switch. There is so much to do in this game, it's unreal. Whether you just want to farm, fight monsters, or get involved in relationships with the townsfolks, or a combination of it all, you can do it in Stardew Valley. This game absolutely deserves all the love it's earned over the years. It's just an amazing game. Number 8 threw some people for a loop whenever it was first revealed at the January Nintendo Switch presentation. Initially, people thought that was just going to be a Wii Boxing ripoff, and overpriced at that, although I was interested since it was very first shown at that presentation. But this game has a surprising amount of depth, and whether you use motion controls or traditional button controls, and also the fact that Nintendo just keeps adding free content to this game is awesome. It is such a fun, unique game, and unlike any other fighting game I've ever played in my life, although Dreamcast owners are probably just point to Power Stone, but I have yet to play that game. But even then, ARMS is just fantastic and unique, and I definitely think that ARMS can become a great Nintendo franchise like Splatoon has. Coming in at the number 7 slot is the massive JRPG Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I've been playing this game to death since it came out, and I've been loving my time with it. I've played both prior Xenoblade Chronicles releases, and I've been enjoying this more than both of those. The art style, music, environments, and characters are all fantastic in this game, although I do have issues with the pacing of some of the boss fights. Having so many back-to-back is frustrating. And the voice acting can be inconsistent, and there are some other minor things that keep this from being any higher on the list. But regardless, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a wonderful game, and I'm glad to have it in my Switch library, and I'll be playing it for quite some time. Number 6 on this list is the best first-person shooter of the past 10 years easily. It's Doom. Doom is a masterpiece, and just about everything I want out of a first-person shooter. It's fast, its mechanics are tuned to perfection, and it's just so fun and satisfying. The weapons feel powerful, and the selection is great, and the soundtrack just adds to the action. It's mind-blowing to have the full 2016 Doom experience on the go on the Nintendo Switch. And Panic Button is the studio that brought this game to the Switch, alongside Rocket League as well, and they are masters of the porting process. They truly are the unsung heroes of the Nintendo Switch so far, and I look forward to any Switch game that they're involved in. The only real reason that this game isn't any higher on the list is because the multiplayer isn't really anything special. But this game is worth the price tag for that single player alone. It is perfection. Now for number 5, the best Mario Kart game to date. It's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It was released early in the Nintendo Switch's life, and that was a great choice in timing on Nintendo's part. They managed to drastically improve Mario Kart 8, the best Mario Kart game to date, and one of the best games on the Wii U, and now they added more characters alongside the original DLC characters and tracks, and they fixed the battle mode, and it's great. This is truly one of the best games on the system so far, and by far the best Mario Kart game ever made. It's multiplayer perfection, and I'll be playing this Mario Kart for years to come. Number 4 on this list was definitely one of the most surprising games released this year. It's none other than Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I, alongside many others, thought this game sounded terrible when it was first leaked, but when it was officially shown off at E3 2017, we saw that Davide Soliani and his team at Ubisoft Milan had made a truly fantastic game, and it also happens to be the third game on this list featuring music from Grant Kirkhope, one of the best composers in the industry. And he helps add to the overwhelming charm of this game. It's definitely a game that took me by surprise, and I'm so glad that it did. It definitely taught me to not judge a book by its cover. And this game is accessible and charming, and yet it gets brutally difficult later on. I still haven't beaten this game yet because of that Bowser Jr. fight. But I can't wait to see what Davide Soliani's team makes, because Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is just so amazing. Number 3 on this list continues the trend of improving Wii U games. It's none other than Splatoon 2. Splatoon 2 is a refinement of one of the best games on the Nintendo Wii U, and with all the other additions added to it, it's just leaps and bounds better than the original game. The new Salmon Run mode is great, and just like the original game, there are frequent updates with new content, such as new modes, like the Clan Blitz. And the Splatfests are just so much fun. I just wish my Wi-Fi was better so I could play this game more. Splatoon 2 is a great example of the amazing gameplay and creativity that Nintendo is known for, and just like the next 2 entries, it's one of my favorite games ever. When the number 2 game on this list came out, it captured the hearts and minds of games press everywhere. It's none other than Super Mario Odyssey. The graphics, music, and gameplay are just on another level from the rest of the video game industry. No one does platforming quite like Mario, or captures the immense joy and movement of Mario. I already went into detail on this game in my review for Super Mario Odyssey, but this game is non-stop joy and fun, and just about any other year, this would have been my game of the year. But unfortunately, this wasn't like any other year. Before I finish off this list with my top spot, I figured I should quickly go through my honorable mentions, because even though I extended my list to the top 15 Nintendo Switch games of 2017, it was still really hard to pick these games because there were so many amazing games to choose from. So I'll just quickly go through them. First of all, there was Pokken Tournament DX, which was another example of a great definitive version of another great Wii U game, and being able to have this on the go with the refinements and added characters was just great. And then there's also Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which I really enjoyed the original release on PC, and Xenoverse 2 is great because, for one thing, it basically combines the two games, well, the story mode of Xenoverse 1. It's got some issues, but overall, I've really enjoyed my time with it, and it's been amazing being able to beat up Yamcha as Vegeta on the go. And there's some really great indie games that I wasn't able to get to as well, such as SteamWorld Dig 2, and that's a fantastic Metroidvania, and it is such a great, fun game, really good art style. It's got a fun little quirky story to it. I'm just not very good at it. And speaking of great Metroidvanias, there's the Mummy Demastered from Way Forward, and thankfully it's only loosely tied to the terrible Mummy movie that came out this year, but it is a fantastic, more Metroid than Vania, but it is a great game, awesome soundtrack. Way Forward doesn't really make any bad games. I mean, they're the studio that made the Shantae games, and Shantae the Half Genie Hero, which was also released on the Switch this year, was my favorite game of 2016. It is just so much fun and so charming. Do not pass up on Shantae the Half Genie Hero if you haven't played it yet, or The Mummy Demastered. And last but not least on my honorable mentions is Snipper Clips. This was one of the early releases for the Nintendo Switch. I think it was actually a launch title, but it's still one of the best co-op experiences on the Switch. Just charming and fun. If you have anyone to play local co-op with, buy this game right now and play it. You'll love it. Now, without further ado, my number one game for the Nintendo Switch in 2017, it's none other than The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Big shocker there. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is my favorite game ever made, and like Super Mario Odyssey, I already went into great detail on this game in my review for the game. I even dedicated the month of November to the Zelda franchise because of how much I adore this game. Others might not agree, but to me, this game is about as close to perfect as a video game can ever get. From its gameplay, to the world it has, the art style and the soundtrack, to the memories that this game has already given me. No other game since Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic has sunk its hooks into me so deeply. And even then, this game surpassed it. Breath of the Wild is a masterpiece in every sense of the word, and is the pinnacle of the video game industry. This game makes it hard to go back to any other open world game before or after its release. No other game truly deserves to be at the top of this list for me. Let me know what your favorite Nintendo Switch games were this year in the comments below. But regardless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the memory card, where I count down my top 10 games of 2017.